everybody. Welcome back to the Underwater Photography Show. As always, I am Matthew Sullivan.
And I'm Alex Mustard.
And it has been a little bit since we've sat down and recorded, and two big competitions have come out with their results recently. So we thought we'd go through the winners of those. And the first one we have to go through is Ocean Art 2024. Ocean Art's a big competition. It's been running for, I think, probably 15 or 16 years now. And usually has some nice images. So we'll go through, see what we think of this year's. And
my green screen has come up on this one. Wait a sec. So you carry on chatting, Matt. I've just got to fight my controls here.
So while Alex battles his green screen, we will hopefully be able to kick off the images here. We took all of the category winners. I believe there are 13 of them. And then two images that I really liked that I personally felt probably should have won their categories. But again, that's all subjective, so we'll see how Alex feels about that too. But if you are ready, Alex?
Yeah, so at the moment we've got Eduardo Labat's photo of white-tip reef sharks, which was this the overall winner?
It was the overall winner and the black and white winner.
Yeah, I have to say, this one doesn't work so well for me. I like lots of the other pictures in here. Just because, yes, it's nice to see lots of sharks, but I think when you have a lot of sharks, I'd like them, to have some sort of arrangement or graphic strength in the arrangement when you have lots of something. And to be honest, it feels very snapshotty and messy. And I think that the dark grey on black and white doesn't work as well for me. I think, if you got this file and maybe gave it to someone like Henley Spears and said, go process that for me, it could be really cool. I don't really like don't think the composition is amazing, and I don't think the processing has maybe got the most out of the file.
I was going to ask you if you thought that, before you said that, I was going to ask you if you thought some different processing might help it a little bit more.
It wouldn't solve the fact it's a bit messy, and I think for me, when you've got multiple animals in a shot, it's really about their arrangement.
Yeah.
And this doesn't feel like maybe the best shot that could have come from this series. I think there might have been a moment where there's just too many sharks on top of each other. There's no real coherent. There's a little bit of circling, but it's not a circle.
Yeah.
And I just think that it feels like a Neely shot to me, not for me, not optimally processed. But it's what the judges went for, and I have to say, when it comes in a competition to picking an overall winner, it can be very challenging because there's lots of pictures that are brilliant category winners, and then you have to pick an overall winner from the category winners. And actually, it can be often the case that, that was a brilliant category winner, but it has got no credentials to be an overall winner. And you often just get backed into a corner, and it's like, well, actually, it's between these, and this is the winner. And the job of the judges is to pick the best pictures that were entered. It's not this is every picture in the world. It's like, this is what was entered, and actually, if you look at what was entered, this is the best.
Yeah.
So I'm not, it doesn't work for me, but it's for the reasons I've said. But it's not a bad shot in any way. It's a very nice shot, and I think we should, as I always sort of at some point rein our conversations on photographic competitions and said, all these pictures have won prizes. All these pictures have made their photographers very happy with the success that they've had. And, it's valuable for us to point out what we like in them, but also what could be improved. So we always try and cast a critical eye. It would be no point watching us if we just said, these are all great, on to the next one, which I'm going to do on to the next one.
So this was the wide angle winner. They're a bit small on my screen, so Alex, you might have to read the names off. But
so this is by Hwan-hee Kim. It sounds like a Korean name, but apologies if it's not. And it's a picture from Car Wash Cenote in Mexico. For me, this is very much kind of, I would say, almost a faultless image in terms of this style of image. And good cenote images do tend to stand out in wide angle categories. I think they're just graphically so strong. Yeah. And I think this picture with the dead roots, the dead trees coming down, and then the different colors of water. I think it's the summertime, you get this real variety of colors of water. The perfectly posed diver with their laser beam torch, all those elements are really, really strong. And I think it's, I love that tannin water mixing in at the top, kind of creating this murkiness, and then it clears out towards the bottom. You get the beautiful blues, you get the diver. And it's hard to fault the shot. It's, a shot we've seen before, done, slightly different compositions, slightly different poses of the diver. But it nonetheless is an excellent shot. I can't fault the photo.
Yeah, cenote shots often just lose their appeal to me because without taking the time with them, they often all look the same at first glance or very similar. The longer I've looked at this one, the more I enjoy it. For all the reasons you said, I especially like all the graphic tree roots, and how the diver's positioned directly in between those two on the side, and they almost look like fingers or hands reaching down towards the bottom from up top, which kind of adds an otherworldly feel to it. I didn't know that about the color gradient changing based on the season, so that's kind of cool. So I don't know if this was planned for that time.
I have to say, I'm not an expert on the area, so we'll probably get someone like Martin to fill us in on that. But yeah, that's been my understanding. It's certain seasons you get more of the tannin water coming in. Typically in the tropics, it rains more in the summer, so maybe more rain in the summer brings more of that tannin-rich water in the surface, and you get that kind of this gradation, which I've heard people describe a bit like the Mexican flag. Kind of, you've got this, orangey red into white into kind of greeny at the bottom with a bit of blue. But it's really cool. Anyway, let's keep moving because we've got to keep the pace up with so many images. And now there's a picture by Adam Martin of a we always call them it's a bit of a British reference, but we call them Ready Brek batfish or pinnate batfish. Which category was this? A macro category winner?
This was the macro category, yeah.
I mean, I would say this is a picture you cannot fault. It is a great subject, photographed beautifully. It's not always easy to get a black background on these because they tend to stay close to the seabed, close to corals. I think you can get that black background with selective lighting, which this potentially has been lit with a selective light, or you can get it by when they swim in front of something that the light won't go into. So I've shot them on black backgrounds by just waiting them to swim in front of the opening of a cave, having my strobes out wide. You just light the subject and there's no light falls on the background. But ultimately, without manipulation, they tend to be always near a background. So background is always the challenging thing. This looks like quite a big one. And that makes them harder to shoot and makes the shot, I think, for me, more impressive. So for all those factors, I think it's a very impressive shot. It's, just a portrait of a fish to some degree, but wow, what a fish.
Yeah, it's a beautiful fish. And I do like, and I haven't seen very many of these, but I've seen one or two. I've given up pretty quickly whenever I've seen them on attempting to photograph them in any sort of meaningful way. But it's been a long time since I saw one, so maybe I'd give it a shot next time. But it looks like he lit it with a snoot or something from top down. The shadows on the fin are underneath all the ridges. So I suspect that's how he lit it. And again, it's a really, like you said, you can't find fault with it. It's a nice portrait of a nice fish. But it doesn't really do much for me.
Yeah, there's no soul in this shot, is it?
The image. Yeah, if you want to pull up the next picture, which was second place in this category, I find this one much more appealing.
And this one is it's such a camouflage background with the tunicates. I can't read. I think it says Imogen, and then
Manions.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, I can't read that better. And this is a leather jacket. But I guess it's an Australian leather jacket because it looks like the ones you get there.
But I love this picture. It's different, especially to how you normally see these fish photographed. And I love the fact that the pattern on the tunicates around the fish mimics the pattern, or the pattern on the fish mimics the tunicates that it's resting against. I think that's really, really cool. And there's no sort of weird trickery with technique or lighting. It's just a beautiful fish in a beautiful setting. And this one I really, really enjoyed. And maybe it's because I've seen less pictures of it than I've seen of that batfish. But I felt this was a more interesting image to me in this category than the batfish one was.
Yeah, I'd say the leather jackets are more common to see. This species looks like the Australian species, and they are very common along that sort of New South Wales coast in particular. And I would guess this is probably Nelson Bay or something like that. But I have no idea. I'm not. So that's just me stabbing in the dark over it. We obviously get leather jackets in other places too. I like this shot too. I can see why the judges perhaps maybe. I think the category winner is a spectacular subject. I think that it's difficult to snoot like something this big because it's quite a lot bigger. This fish is probably this sort of height, I would say,
Oh, really?
from how it looks. It's beginning to get the color coming through in the background, and it's quite difficult to snoot something that big. And assuming it, is not being chased out into mid-water or something for a shot, which I don't believe is the case. It takes quite a lot of difficulty to do that. So maybe the judges went for the difficulty of this as opposed to this, which is a sleeping leather jacket, which is not going anywhere, and it's where the fish has chosen to live. But I think the photographer's done a fantastic job to tell that story with their composition, not going too tight, not going too wide, filling the whole frame with the pattern of the tunicates, and then that pattern playing out across the fish. I like both shots very much, but maybe the judging room discussion went difficulty. Oh yeah, this one was a more challenging shot.
Yeah.
Right. We're now a picture by Stefano Cherbai, and a picture of a male leafy sea dragon, presumably under Rapid Bay jetty, looking at the background, carrying a lovely load of eggs.
Yeah, this was the portrait winner. And I mean, I love sea dragons, so I'm biased towards this. Was probably one of my favorite ones from the whole competition. Maybe my favorite picture from the whole competition. The sea dragons lit really nicely. I like that you can see, the ghostly outline of the jetty in the background. Obviously, carrying the eggs is a huge, like, natural history bonus to get that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know you photographed these. I don't know how difficult an image this is to capture, but he did it really nicely. I think if I had one little gripe about it, and I think I probably know why he did this, is if he pulled a little bit off the bottom right part of the frame, because to me it looks like the sea dragon is too far to the left compared to the right-hand side of the frame. He might have done that to keep more of the jetty leg in the frame, but it just seems a bit offset in a weird way to me. I think
I find he's exiting stage left kind of to me.
Yeah. But a very slight crop would fix that, I think.
I think I don't really get portrait from this picture. I think it depends how you define portrait as a category. But I think this is a nice wide angle shot of a dragon. The background looks pretty funky to me. I don't know whether it's backscatter removal before the days of backscatter exterminator, because it kind of looks all blurred out like you would try and hide backscatter. I'm not quite sure what's going on with the background. It may have just been the murkiest day ever, and that's why the background looks weird. So I won't be, it could be natural. It just looks a bit funny to me. I think that the sea dragon is beautifully lit and it's a great pose. Everything is there. It's all laid out. You can really see the amazing anatomy, and the addition of the eggs adds a lot of extra interest as well to the story. I think the jetty legs make for a decent background, but again, with the murkiness of the water / processing of the background, it looks a bit strange. And I think you could have had a bit more coming from that. And the composition, I'm okay with the central composition. I don't think it's amazingly interesting, but I think it obviously works with the symmetry of the legs of the jetty behind. But like you say, it's a little bit to the left. He's on his way out of the frame rather than coming into our picture. But very nice. It's a nice, it's a quality shot. I don't find it as amazing as you, but that's because I've photographed sea dragons.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, they're one of my top things to see in photographs. So until I've done that, they're a bit biased, similar to decorated war bonnets for those of you who follow along with the show.
Yeah, right. Let's keep rolling because we're 15 minutes in. So talking of decorated war bonnets, we're up to the Pacific Northwest for our next picture. I'm guessing this is the winner of maybe a cold water category or something.
So Ocean Art has a nudibranch category, so this was the winner of the overall nudibranch, or the overall winner of the nudibranch category.
Yeah, I think it's a great choice of subject matter for nudibranch categories. If you want to stand out, what's a nudibranch category going to be full of? Snoot-lit macro shots. So put something in that's not a snoot-lit macro shot, and you're always going to stand out. Is this the best picture I've ever seen of hooded nudibranchs? No. Compositionally, it's not overly exciting. It's not a particularly interesting background. It's just a diagonal foreground, of them. It's fine. But is this a good, clever entry to this category? Yes. and I can see exactly why it had success. And I think as a potential entrant to competitions, this is exactly how you want to play with expectations in the category and stand out. And this is a perfectly nice photo of Hooded Nudibranchs on a nice background. It's nice and clean. The backscatter has been zapped, and I think it looks really nice.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not a huge nudibranch guy, so this isn't my favorite category, but it was nice to see one that was not, like you said, a snooted macro subject take the win. There's plenty of those every year for nudibranch. So
yeah, although I do think that actually these variation shots, like EMWL shots and wide angle shots of particularly hooded nudibranch aggregations, probably win more than their fair share of nudibranch contests, because they're one of those subjects that each year the judges are faced with the same thing. It's, we've got 20 lovely nudibranch shots. This one really stands out. That should be our winner. And I think that happens time and again in all competitions, that where you have a theme, if you can stand out a little bit from what everyone else thinks, you'll always do well. Right, on to our next picture, which is by Yoichi Sato. I don't think I said that the previous one was by Borat Forlan, from Slovenia. Moving on to Yoichi Sato with a picture of this cardinal fish releasing its eggs, I think.
Yeah, something.
I've seen a lot of these shots from Japan, and I presume that's where Yoichi Sato is from. I think that I'm always impressed with them, and technically this one is just superb. You've got all the babies all around the adult just being released. The lighting is superb. It's got a clean background. The focus is excellent. I think the whole picture is, again, very, very difficult to fault anything in this shot. It's interesting behavior. Was this behavior category?
This was the behavior winner, yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it's just, it's if the behavior you want to show is, the release of mouth brooding eggs, this is absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The only issue I have with this, and it's not really an issue with the image, it's that last year we did this exact same video and had almost the exact same image win the same category. And I do think this one is done better, but I would like to see, it'd be nice to see some new stuff, be awarded. And again, like you said, they're kind of restricted to whatever is put into the competition, so they can't necessarily, pull something out of thin air that wasn't entered. But it's just back-to-back years with cardinal fish releasing eggs as the winner, which I think actually might hurt this image a little bit for a viewing audience.
Maybe they've had a change of jury as well, which sometimes happens in a contest, and then the new jury is like, well, we don't care what they did last year. We're new to this competition, so it's all new. I don't know if they have, but that can often mean is where you get repetition. But yeah, certainly with contests that I'm involved with, one of the first things we do is we look at what was awarded last year, because it's a very good way of knowing where the level is, as much as anything. And then it also protects you from too much repetition. But I have to say, there's also an element, you put your pictures together and certain types of shots tend to rise to the top. And this deserves to rise to the top. And maybe they had this discussion and said, well, yes, it's the same as last year, but this is the best shot.
Yeah.
And so be it. And for me, it is a really, really, you can't fault this image for showing this behavior. Now we're the name. Oh, there we go. I've got it. It says Lucy Drikova. I'm sorry if I get anyone's name wrong, but on my screen they're really tiny as well. So and this is a really, really nice pull shot of a model. It's interesting because I think the pose of the model is great. I can't see the picture very big on my screen, as I was saying, but it looks like all the facial features are really strong, which can be the hardest thing to get on a model. It's quite easy to do bodies and hair and flowing dresses, but actually getting people to look facially reasonable underwater is one of the big challenges. And I think the whole pose and the top part of the model is great. And then the creative nature of the dress and the little devils at the bottom is fascinating. And I love that feature. And I think it's really good. It's quite a low key image. It's quite dark. I think it looks best viewed, with really strong, nice and bright. And I'm not overly, I understand why there's the highlight at the back, but I think that the white light above the model's head, I don't like. The white light behind the model is fine, but I think they could have done a better job managing that given everything else that's going on. And I don't know I haven't seen this picture big, but I don't know how that lower half of the frame was created.
Yeah, I don't know either. This was the fashion winner,
Mm.
so I don't know what the restrictions are on. Actually, it was yeah fashion. I don't know what the restrictions are for uh, post processing or AI, whatever.
Mm.
To be honest, I kind of just skimmed over this
Yeah,
this
I know it's
category.
not what you're into, and I
Trust.
like that the competition has it. I think it's, it's great to celebrate that underwater photography means different things to different people.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'd always encourage competitions to have this. I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know how that lower half of the frame was created, but the whole shot is very well done. So I'm very impressed with the shot, and I'm certain it follows their rules because they would have made sure of that. So yeah, okay. Let's roll on to the next one,
This is the
which
conservation category.
yeah, which is I guess a picture talking about plastic in the oceans. And I guess we've got a girl here who's gone on vacation to the beach, and this is what she's found. Obviously, it's a pose shot, but it's creating a graphically impactful image. It's a very beautiful model, and I think that and it's taken by Kimber Greenwood, and I think that combination of the very attractive model, the red bikini, the blues of the water, and then you're expecting, your expectation is, oh, it's a lovely beach shot, and then it's not. I think does grab your attention and pull you in. As for is it an amazing piece of conservation photography? Maybe not, but it certainly has graphics. It's certainly a strong image.
Yeah, I'm always iffy on these like the posed images like this being awarded and things, especially when there are. I understand the conservation story behind it, like that makes sense to me. Um, but this is more of and I guess there's, that's kind of what the conservation category is, a photojournalism thing. But anything where you can just set it up and put it here, like, oh, here, we're going to gather all the plastic and you can go lay in it. I don't know. That just doesn't sit right with
You
me.
kind of say there's room for a shot like this, but it's a bit disappointing that this beats out
Yeah,
and out,
right.
conservation photojournalism.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know we've had this discussion before where, awarding, brutal conservation images
Mm.
in competitions is a bit of a, gray area, but so this doesn't do that. And some of the other ones in the category are in that vein. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it being a competition category, a major competition category winner. But again, it's a subjective thing. So
Yeah.
to each their own.
I think Ocean Art is focused a little bit more on the newer photographers as well.
Yeah.
So it's not, and I think, to be honest, the photojournalists out there probably aren't looking to a contest like this for their shots. So, ultimately, I like that conservation photography can be a broad church. I'm a bit less, I think there's room for the gory shots every now and again. I think there's room for these more conceptual images, and stage. And I don't think this picture is pretending not to be staged.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
It's maybe talking about a future, and I think that's so. I'm okay with all these images being within conservation. Not everything has to be, sort of that Nat Geo style reportage conservation type photography. I think it's good to have a mixture within conservation and environmental photography of styles. And so I'm and this picture is very graphically strong. I don't think I would go with an image like this as a winner of such a category either. But I'm not overly against this one. Okay, moving along. We have picture by James Emery of a cormorant swimming underwater with some metridiums behind it.
Yep. So this
Uh,
was the cold water winner. I know you like your Monterey Bay cormorant pictures, so I thought you might like this one. Um, but yeah, I think ever since John's cormorant picture from UPY last year, it's going to be tough to top that one for
mm,
Monterey cormorant images. But I do like the eye contact, and I've tried to photograph cormorants underwater and have thus far failed.
mm.
So I can appreciate that it's a difficult picture to capture, especially down deep, where they can move in any direction versus up on the surface where they're not as maneuverable.
Yeah, I think I'm more impressed by capturing a difficult shot than the result. I
Yeah.
would say for me, I don't find the background works particularly well with the cormorant. There's nothing there that it's interacting with. There's no food for it. Like I like the shots where you can see the food, or the background's incredibly beautiful, like John's shot with the sun and the backlit kelp and all of that. I don't find this a particularly remarkable background. There doesn't seem to be anything that it's chasing. It's just swimming along. So yeah, it's I'm sure it was a difficult shot to get, but I'm not. The end result doesn't overly wow me.
It is interesting to me how deep they can go because I believe this Metridium field is down below 40 feet. So it would be startling, I think, to see a bird even if you know they're around, to see a bird down there.
See, I think, I'm used to seeing them deep. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I guess it's said, yeah. I guess in the springs you always see them shallow. So.
Yeah, or even at Blue Heron, they're shallow. So
yeah,
never seen that.
Yeah, I'm going to roll us on to, I'm guessing this is Blackwater category.
Yep.
And it's good interaction. I mean, I've found that Blackwater photography has become for me at least, it's becoming increasingly repetitive. It's always the same shot technique-wise. Okay, or you do the sneeze shot where you use a torch and wobble your camera to try and be creative or sneeze during the exposure, which is not exactly very exciting once you've seen one of them. I think that ultimately, a Blackwater shot, to win these days, it's definitely got to be two animals, not just one. And you want two spectacular animals doing something to each other is generally the recipe for success. I've seen lots of pictures of two animals doing something to each other in Blackwater shots. And yeah, I think they almost need their own category now to be successful. I think when Blackwater photos first came out, they would dominate the macro categories. And then they got their own category. And now I think if you enter them in macro, you'd just be like, it's a bit boring. So it's nice. I enjoy Blackwater photography. I like getting the shots myself, but I don't consider them standout images in my portfolio. They're just an animal on black. This is at least is nice and interesting. It looks like some predation is going on more than mating. I'm not really sure. But yeah,
I do like the blue and I think it's blue and red. I do like that color contrast, and I like that you can see the eyes of both squid. But I'm with you.
Well shot. Everything's in focus.
But I've been on it forever that I think the Blackwater images rely now on either a truly exceptional animal that nobody's seen, or some sort of crazy behavior. And the next image falls into the former category. This thing just creeps me out by Beau Pardo. This was an honorable mention in the Blackwater category.
It's a cool animal, isn't it?
And it's really like, this is one of those things where and it looks like it's walking, which I think is what creeps me out about it. It looks like it's walking on 2 feet. But like, this is one of the things where I'm glad it's tiny, because if this thing,
there are some quite big amphipods actually. Yeah, they can get quite big. There's some, like not huge, but like properly, like, holding your hand size.
Ooh.
So and there's some, they're very cool. This picture for me is got exquisite lighting, or certainly the end result. I love how it pings off the background. I suspect it was much more translucent than this in real life, and I think the control of the light has really brought out fantastic detail right across the whole frame, and it's a cool creature. So I'm very impressed by both I should backtrack a little bit and say I'm very impressed by both Blackwater shots, but visually I do find them less interesting than macro pictures now, whereas when they first came out, visually they were far more exciting than macro pictures. Now, of course, they continue to thrill people who haven't seen them before, and I think if you're a Blackwater aficionado, you love seeing, someone's seen something I've never seen. That's cool. Yeah. But like you, they lose a bit of their interest for me overall in photo competitions. Right, number 13.
Compact behavior winner.
By Naomi Springett. So it looks like there's a bit more name behind where it says Ocean Art on the picture. So that's why I was struggling with it. It's a nice behavior. It's a very nice portrait of a lizardfish, considering it's shot with a compact. bang on focus, really nice teeth, really nice eye, and you've got the cleaner wrasse in there. He's not doing much apart from rubbing himself on the lizardfish at the moment, but I think the background, the lighting, and everything is very well contained. And yeah, there's nothing at all wrong with this picture. It's, all the details are there.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have seen the cleaner fish actually cleaning. It would have been nice to see the cleaner fish venturing near those dangerous teeth, but it's maybe that neither of those things happened. So yeah,
nice portrait. I wish that even in post, I think they could bring out the cleaner fish a bit more. It kind of falls off and disappears a little bit there. Maybe that would help. Maybe it wouldn't, but yeah, nice portrait.
Okay, and then we've got the final two, which the first one is by Naomi again, and is this from the same category?
No, this is compact macro.
Compact macro. So as a stand, I'm so used to seeing people with TG cameras particularly, and loads of extra close-up lenses. You forget that compact cameras can do kind of close-up photography as well as super macro, because obviously compact cameras are very well suited for super macro, because they have smaller sensors and therefore a bit more inherent depth of field at any given magnification range. So you tend to see compact macro categories dominated by Shaun the Sheeps, because that's what they can do almost better than the SLRs and mirrorless full frame cameras anyway. I like the color contrast very much between this long-nosed hawkfish and the green Chibastria coral it's sitting on. And I think that the balance of the light is very well handled, between the green of the coral, which is very often hard to light up well without overexposing the fish, and then also having the blue light of the water behind. So I think all those elements work well. I think this picture would probably be improved with a little bit of a crop. I think there's a bit in the top of the picture, there's a bit too much stuff coming in that's not green. And to be honest, I'd probably like to see the fish a little bit bigger in the frame. But apart from that, it's a very nice close-up shot of a fish. Not a sort of macro or super macro, a bit of a wider scene, but it works very well.
I can't actually tell if the coral is green, so that it might be visually more appealing to those who
It is kind of green and red at the same time. It is.
It looks brown to me, so
yeah.
I didn't really hear those colors. But I agree. Even if it wasn't cropped, I wish maybe she had shifted to the left a little bit to put the hawkfish more on the right-hand side of the frame, and maybe let even more blue in on the left. But hindsight's 20/20. But an easy fix, at least now, would be to crop off whatever that is in the top right corner of the frame. It might make the picture a little more impactful, but
I don't know if cropping's allowed in the category, so it may be.
I'm fairly certain they are.
I mean, certainly some of the pictures we've seen are clearly very processed.
Yeah.
But the different categories may have different rules. And our final shot is by Marco Lausdei, and it's a picture of a white tip reef shark and a school of fish and nice sun at the top. Very spectacular shot. Sorry.
Compact wide angle. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Compact wide angle winner.
Yeah, very nice. Good wide angle. I'm guessing it's probably the Maldives actually more than East Pacific. I was thinking, just because that's the kind of two places. But just the fish and the light and the green water feels kind of quite Maldivy. Nice clean shot. And I like the fact that it feels like there's an interaction between the shark and the fish. Shark's a dramatic subject. I like the light. It gives a good three-dimensionality to the shark. And I think the streaming fish behind it create a great backdrop. And I love how the streaming fish run up into silhouettes at the top. So there's a lot to like about this picture. Again, I think the crop could be tightened up a little bit. There's quite a lot of space on the right-hand side that's not contributing, but maybe that's not allowed in the compact category.
I was going to say the same thing. I wish if it was cropped a little bit tighter, I think it would make a big difference to the overall aesthetic of the frame. And I actually like this white tip reef shark better than the overall winner white tip reef shark. There's just a lot more going on here. And like you said, I like whether they're actually interacting or not, it seems like there's interaction between the shark and all the fish, which I think is really nice. Then being able to see all the way up through the surface is a nice touch as well.
Definitely year of the reef white tip sharks. So,
yeah.
So that's Ocean Art 2024. The competition, I guess, will be open again come the late part of this year, 2025. So if you're looking at this going, I've got better shots than that, you know what to do at the end of the year is to get in there and win some of the prizes for yourself.
I will say Ocean Art has fantastic prizes. So if you're looking to win trips or gear, that's a good one to do it in. Um, as long as you can afford to then go on to get yourself on the trip that you've won. But thank you guys for watching. We will be back soon with another episode. And thank you guys for always being supportive.